I am not a person. I am ink. I live inside paper fibers, black and heavy as the thoughts people only dare to think in kitchens under a light pooling over the sink. That night, a trembling hand drew me from a felt tip. I crawled into words, short, square, final, with not a single curve left for mercy. I see what you're doing. Stop, or there will be trouble. I was folded in two. The mouth of the mailbox swallowed me with a cold clink, and at the bottom, I heard the house breathe. By morning, I lay in a woman's palm, where a wedding ring left a pale ribbon of light. She read her own name the way one reads a sin. From today on, the town's secrets will no longer belong to four walls. Some ink dries in seconds. Another kind, suspicion, never dries at all. Circleville is flat as a notebook page. Straight streets, square blocks, dark timber roofs. People know whose car is whose, who bakes apple pies on Wednesdays, and think the worst thing on the way home is a pothole. Then the letters came. No return address. Writing made only of straight strokes, like a razor slicing the air into ribbons. They named a woman who drove a school bus. They named a man who managed education. They named the thing no one wants when dinner has just been served. Accusation, threat, and the eyes that live behind your back. From one mailbox to another, the secret, or what the letters called truth, grew legs. And one night, a telephone rang in a small house. A man took a coat, a gun, and stepped out. He did not return. The death was recorded as an accident. But in towns like this, accident is rarely a simple word. Inside the clink of each morning lid, the town learned an old lesson. Ink needs only a stamp to become a public voice. If secrets are ink, then every mailbox is a lung. Envelopes with no return address began appearing one year in the mid-70s, when the maples shed early, 0.6, when the windows of small Ohio houses closed a little too fast because the wind had changed. Addresses written as if the writer had practiced an accusation. Square lines. Short, compacted. Inside, bare sentences. I know what you're doing. Stop, or there will be trouble. A woman opened a letter in the kitchen as the coffee pot clicked tick-tick. Her hand froze midair as if pinned by an invisible needle. Her husband, fastening his shirt at the steps, heard paper rustle longer than it should. A child building Lego in the living room. A plastic brick hit the floor. Clack. A tiny sound like a blade testing its edge. In the early days, they thought it was a cruel joke. Then a second letter arrived, with the smell of fresh stamp glue. The letters didn't only speak, they watched. They recited the school bus route, the times, the 6, the moments someone turned left instead of going straight. They knew which noon brought a drizzle thin as gauze, knew which striped scarf someone wore when the air slid down to 47 degrees Fahrenheit, knew the coffee cup was set one knuckle off center. The way they knew made people begin to doubt the person sitting across their own table. Supper became a meeting with no minutes. Questions turned to cross-examination. Silence became evidence. A sideways glance, half a second late, was a confession. The mail carrier still ran the same route. But from then on, the clink of the lid was no longer a sign of good news or bills. It was the clock hand inching toward ignition. When suspicion enters a house, it doesn't knock. It slides through the slot. One night, the phone rang. The sound stretched like a cord pulled taut. On the other end, a curt voice dropped fragments. A name, a license plate, a dare. The man in that house threw on a coat, tucked a gun, and rushed out. The dark stretch wasn't long, the suburban road dusted with a chalky film of mist. Long enough for a car to slip, long enough for a sharp break between metal and a trunk of wood, long enough for a silence that would last years. The death was ruled an accident. But in the town's telling, accident was never a simple word. They whispered about a shot that might, 0.4, or might not, have been fired. They read numbers on a report and looked into a widow's eyes, where questions burned brighter than tears. After the funeral, a black coat hung on the chairback like a person not yet gone. In the nearby drawer, white envelopes lay tight together, listening to the house's heartbeat. And the letters kept coming. Some deaths end a story. Some deaths are a colon, letting the secret continue itself. That morning, along the familiar bus route, a handwritten sign appeared on a fence. It named the woman. It exposed. It threatened. It wanted children to read what adults wouldn't say. She stepped down, tugged the string, pulled the sign, and found a box behind it. A crude, vicious mechanism. String, nails, an old metal tube. Intent compressed into an area no bigger than a hand. If someone pulled the paper, what lay inside could fire. Investigators traced the weapon. Barrel. Numbers. A history of sale. The gun's trail led to a name in town. A distant relative. A familiar shadow at family gatherings. Denials rose. Physical evidence said otherwise. A verdict was handed down not for anonymous letters, but for the gun trap. In the courtroom, pens scuttled like insects across paper. On the courthouse porch, wind-flipped headlines hung like ready-made convictions. When a name is hung before the public, people think the story is over. Then the mailbox clinked again. The town believed they had caught the knife. But the cuts kept appearing. From a neighboring city, the post office stamped new envelopes. The woman's name still spelled perfectly, the rancorous voice intact. Threats carrying details only someone very close could know. You think locking me up is enough? You don't understand. Letters walk. They arrived at officials' homes, at newsrooms. Some who received letters said nothing, fearing that just speaking of them would show the way back. Others showed them off like a strange medal. Proof they were important enough to be threatened. And beneath it all, point 6. The question the town couldn't say out loud. If the convicted couldn't send letters, who was writing? Speculations thickened like smoke. Some argued postmarks, others chased fingerprints. Still others only shook their heads, tired. There are bars for people. There are no bars for ink. The letter's script was strange. All straight strokes. 6, as if the writer avoided every curve that might betray a habit. It looked printed, but never machine even, a tiny tremor at the end of each stroke of the letter T, like a wake behind a boat. Some analyses said the non-dominant hand was used. Others said no, this voice was trained. A mask of handwriting. The more it tried to hide, the more it revealed the one thing it couldn't. Obsession. Watch the letters repeat words. Hear how they favor short, hard sentences, like hammering a stake. See how they drop schedules and routes, tiny details, the details of someone standing close. A teacher sat alone in an empty classroom, turning each letter with gloved hands, noting a habit. The writer's fondness for hyphens like thin blades. A legal tech pointed to the white space between lines and said, "This spacing sometimes says more than the words." In the dark of a small town, standing close could be anyone. Point 6, a neighbor mowing at 5 p.m. A relative at a birthday party. A coworker passing your chair each morning. When the writer wears a mask of letters, the town begins to wear masks of smiles. Lay the envelopes on a map, and you'll see a circle tightening around certain houses. Familiar roads take on new meaning. A curve where the accident happened becomes an exclamation point. Point 6. A nearby post office turns into a question mark. In diners, voices dropped, spoons touched plates more gently. At ball fields, looks lasted longer than usual, glances gliding like paper knives. Not deep, but leaving a white line. Children learn to read words not found in books. The alphabet of silence, of avoidance, of "don't say it too loud." Some crossed out their usual route to avoid the post office. Some changed the hour they took the trash out, just to miss the mail carrier. The town split in two. Those who believed the convicted had built the trap, Point 6, and those who believed someone else crouched behind the stamps. When a story has two sides, the only clear winner is fear. The letters didn't just attack individuals. They attacked relationships, spouses, siblings, friends. A husband read a letter and looked at his wife. He saw her shoulders sink half a knuckle's width and wondered how many such sags he'd missed in 7 years. A wife read a letter, studied herself in the kitchen glass, noticed a dusting of flour on her cheek and a question larger than dinner. "What haven't I said?" An argument began at the table because of a sentence written on a fence. The word "why" popped like corn, spreading into strings of always and never. A bedroom door didn't close all the way, a draft whispering as if someone muttered more evidence. In a small town, rumor is fuel. A letter is the match. People lit fires to see each other's faces and found the smoke stinging their own eyes. The most dangerous trap sometimes doesn't start with a trigger, but with the question, "Do you trust me?" Try to draw the letter writer, not with lines, but with gaps. The gap of days when no one received anything. Did those align with someone's vacation? The gap of details only an insider could know. Then where is inside? The gap of persistence, year after year, is that hatred or patience? Some sketched a foggy face, but the eye socket stayed white, rubbed out. Perhaps the portrait has no eyes or nose. Only a hand that knows the path to every mailbox, knows how to bend with the corner of habit, knows how to hide inside the town's steady rhythm. An old investigator murmured, "Some people live to write, and some write so you'll live the way they want." The sentence sat on the table like an unopened envelope. When a face is left blank, anyone can be filled in. Year after year. If the secret was real, its price was paid in the realest things. One life, marriages cracked, and public trust changing color. A white fence on a porch was painted 3 times, and the stain of rumor still hid inside the viewer's eye. Some left town to find silence, changed area codes, changed which store they shopped, changed the way they said good morning. Others stayed and learned to live with each morning's clink. They opened letters the way you open an oyster, wary of grit. At some point, the letters tired, or the writer did. But the story did not. It nested in barbershop talk, in window panes looking out on the street, in the way a name was spoken with a small pause. We always pay for what we cannot face because it makes us scrutinize the faces of everyone else. Because when ink soaks a page, it soaks the memory too. Today, Circleville still has a mail carrier, still has a school bus full of kids, still has porches of wood and pots of geraniums red as a lipstick print on a cup rim. Apple pies still warm the corner bakery, and the barber still asks, "How's your day?" even though the real answer sits in each coat pocket. When people mention the letters, they don't only mention the writer. They mention themselves. The ones who answered with confusion, with judgment, and sometimes with the courage of silence. A church group hosts a talk on trust, no name spoken, but everyone knows where they stand on the map they've been drawing for years. A high school class teaches the difference in information, that some letters you hand to adults, and some sentences you let drift through the mind like leaves over a stream. In the end, the most dangerous thing about a secret is not that it's exposed, but when it becomes the graph by which we define each other. When you measure others by darkness, you must stand in it too. If secrets are ink, forgiveness is water. Not every stain will lift, but water helps you read the rest of the page. Before we set this story down, 4.6, picture a white envelope without an address. Inside is a question written in ink. If one day someone knew you so well, enough to write you into a sentence, what would you do? Do you run? Do you pursue? Or do you choose to trust the one you love more than you trust the ink? The Circleville Letters, secrets written in ink, does not close with a name. It closes with a choice: to treat secrecy as a curse or as a lesson you can lay down. I am ink. I have passed through many hands, but the pen, sick, still rests in yours.